If you close this video right now, you will miss the one piece of information about a food in your refrigerator that could start shifting your fasting blood sugar within 24 hours. Not a supplement, not a medication, a food that millions of people with diabetes remove from their diet based on advice the scientific community has since revised, and whose absence has been silently working against their numbers every single morning. In Japan and South Korea, diabetic patients are not told to fear this food. They are taught exactly how to use it. And the gap between that clinical guidance and what most Western patients are told is measurable in A1C points, in fasting glucose averages, and in the daily quality of life of people doing everything right and still not seeing the results they deserve. Today, I will show you everything the science actually says about eggs and blood sugar control. The truth is not what most patients have been told. When you have diabetes, your body has difficulty processing carbohydrates. You already know that, but what East Asian clinical nutrition understood decades before Western guidelines acknowledged it is that protein, when consumed alongside carbohydrates, acts as a biological brake. It slows the rate at which glucose from carbohydrates enters your bloodstream. Instead of the sharp spike that sends your glucose to 200 within an hour of eating, what you get is a slower, more controlled release your body can handle with less metabolic stress. Eggs are one of the most complete and accessible sources of that protein available. 2 whole eggs deliver approximately 12 grams of high-quality protein containing all essential amino acids your body cannot produce on its own. The glycemic index of eggs is 0. They do not raise your blood sugar a single point. But combined correctly, they help prevent everything else you eat from spiking it as severely. My name is Dr. Jae Yoon. I am a physician trained in both Western clinical medicine and traditional East Asian integrative medicine, and for 26 years I have studied why diabetic adults in Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan manage blood sugar with a consistency that Western protocols have struggled to replicate. What I share on this channel is peer-reviewed clinical nutrition, translated into language your daily routine can actually use. If you want to receive this kind of evidence every week, subscribe right now and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. What I publish here is designed specifically for people like you, so you can make smarter decisions about your blood sugar with real, current information. Subscribe now, it takes 2 seconds. Stay until the end because what comes next could change the number you see on your glucose meter tomorrow morning. Before I tell you the single most important thing about eggs and blood sugar, I need to ask you something directly. This channel has no pharmaceutical sponsorship. No food manufacturer funds what I produce here. That means the only mechanism by which this information reaches the people who need it most is you. If what I have shared so far has made you think differently about a food you may have been afraid of for years, press the like button right now. Without that like, YouTube buries this video, and the person who removed eggs from their diet 3 years ago, whose fasting blood sugar has stayed elevated ever since, and who does not know a simple change in preparation could shift their numbers, will never find it. With your like, this reaches people who have been fighting their glucose numbers for years with the wrong information. Subscribe to this channel and leave a comment right now telling me where you are watching from and how long you have been managing diabetes. I read every single one, and knowing who is in this community helps me create content that is genuinely useful for your specific situation. Here is what no one is telling diabetic patients, and what I consider the most consequential nutritional misunderstanding in diabetes management today. Millions of people with diabetes removed eggs from their diet completely. They were told that dietary cholesterol was dangerous for their cardiovascular system. So they spent months or years avoiding eggs, believing they were protecting themselves. Meanwhile, their blood sugar stayed elevated, their energy remained suppressed, and in many cases their cholesterol profile actually worsened. What they replaced eggs with at breakfast was not safer. It was instant oatmeal, fruit juice, white bread, or boxed cereal. Simple carbohydrates that convert rapidly into glucose with nothing to buffer the spike, because the protein that was doing the slowing had been removed. The elimination of eggs did not protect their cardiovascular system. It removed the one metabolic brake helping their pancreas manage morning blood sugar. That silent substitution was the real problem, not the egg. The science that caused this widespread egg avoidance has been substantially revised. Research published in peer-reviewed journals over the past 2 decades consistently shows that for most people, the cholesterol you consume in food is not the primary driver of blood cholesterol levels. Your liver produces cholesterol independently through inputs that do not include whole eggs. What raises blood lipids most consistently is refined sugars and industrial trans fats, the exact foods many patients increased when they removed eggs. Studies have observed that eating whole eggs can improve the cholesterol profile in ways that matter for cardiovascular risk. They can raise HDL, the protective cholesterol, and they can shift LDL particles from a small, dense form associated with greater arterial risk toward a larger, more buoyant form carrying significantly less danger. The fear was not supported by the updated evidence. The replacement foods were what caused the damage. That is exactly what happened with one of the most memorable patients I have seen in recent years. Yoon Park came to my office 11 months ago. She was 61 years old, had lived with type 2 diabetes for 7 years, and arrived with a folder of lab results from her diagnosis. Before I could say a word, she began to cry quietly, not with desperation, but with the exhaustion of someone who no longer knows what to try. "Dr. Yoon," she said, "I stopped eating eggs almost 3 years ago. My previous doctor told me the cholesterol was dangerous for my heart. I switched to oatmeal with fruit and orange juice because I was told it was the healthiest breakfast for a diabetic. I walk 4 mornings a week, take all my medications, and my fasting blood sugar is still between 160 and 180 every morning." When she described her breakfast, I understood immediately. Instant oatmeal with half a banana and a glass of fresh orange juice. That meal delivered a massive load of rapidly absorbed carbohydrates with virtually no protein to slow them down. Her blood sugar reached 215 within 30 minutes. Because there was no protein to sustain her, by mid-morning she was hungry again, her pancreas under continuous stress. I proposed one change. Replace that breakfast with one built around whole eggs, prepared correctly. 2 weeks later, she called me. "Dr. Yoon, my blood sugar after breakfast is 138, not 215. After 1 month, her fasting average dropped from 172 to 144. After 3 months, her A1C fell from 8.4% to 7.6. Her LDL cholesterol, the original reason she stopped eating eggs, also improved. The first practical question is how many eggs and which part to eat. For most people with diabetes who do not have severe kidney conditions or specific contraindications, 2 to 3 whole eggs per day is both safe and clinically beneficial. I say whole eggs deliberately because the yolk is where the majority of the metabolic benefit lives. For decades, patients were told to discard the yolk. That guidance was based on research the scientific community has since re-examined. The yolk contains choline, essential for fat metabolism in the liver, an organ that needs every advantage when you are managing diabetes. It contains vitamin D, which multiple studies have linked to improved insulin sensitivity at the cellular level. It contains lutein and zeaxanthin, 2 compounds that protect retinal tissue from the progressive damage that chronically elevated blood sugar causes over time. Do not remove the yolk. The benefit is inside it. How you prepare eggs matters as much as how many you eat. Frying eggs in oil or butter and pairing them with white toast creates a combination of saturated fat and refined carbohydrates that temporarily impairs insulin signaling while simultaneously spiking glucose. In Japanese and South Korean clinical nutrition, eggs for diabetic patients are prepared without added fat, scrambled in a non-stick pan with no oil whatsoever. Eggs contain sufficient natural fat to cook without sticking. Beat them lightly, pour into a heated pan over medium heat, and stir gently for 2 to 3 minutes until just set. Boiling is equally effective and more practical for busy mornings. Start in cold water, bring to a boil, 10 minutes for a firm yolk, 6 for softer. Prepare them the previous night and refrigerate them. Your morning requires 0 additional preparation time and delivers maximum metabolic stability from the first meal of the day. What you pair with your eggs determines the full metabolic picture of the meal. Avocado is the ideal companion. The monounsaturated fat in avocado does not elevate blood sugar. It slows digestion and extends the glucose buffering effect of the protein across a longer window. Spinach provides magnesium, a mineral that large-scale studies have found is deficient in a significant percentage of people with type 2 diabetes, and that plays a direct, measurable role in insulin receptor sensitivity. Tomatoes, peppers, mushrooms, and any leafy green add fiber that further extends the protein break while contributing volume and satiety without meaningful carbohydrates. 2 eggs prepared without oil, half an avocado, and a generous portion of vegetables is a combination that can maintain stable blood sugar for 4 to 5 hours. You reach lunch without the sharp hunger and cravings that follow a glucose drop, because your blood sugar never produced the spike that causes that drop. Most patients think of eggs as a breakfast food only. Breakfast is the most strategically important meal because stabilizing blood sugar from the start sets a metabolic ceiling for the day. But eating eggs at dinner produces a benefit that surprises most of my patients. When you consume high-quality protein at dinner in place of carbohydrates, your liver, which continuously releases glucose while you sleep, does so in a more moderate and regulated way. This hepatic glucose regulation effect can translate into a difference of 15 to 20 points in your fasting blood sugar the following morning. A 2-egg omelet with vegetables at dinner, no bread or rice alongside it, is a light, nutritious, and clinically supported option for improving the number you see when you wake up. Shifting what you ate at dinner is a direct intervention, requiring no medication adjustment and no additional cost whatsoever. 3 preparation mistakes consistently undermine the benefit of eggs in diabetic patients. The first is frying them in olive oil, believing that because it is a healthy fat, it is acceptable. Olive oil used cold over salads is genuinely beneficial. Heated to frying temperatures, it loses key properties and adds unnecessary fat your metabolism does not need when the egg already provides its own. The second mistake is pairing eggs with fresh orange juice. Many patients believe freshly squeezed juice is fundamentally different from bottled juice. For someone managing blood sugar, it is not. Fresh juice is liquid glucose without fiber, entering your bloodstream rapidly and eliminating the buffering effect the egg protein was providing. A whole orange is an entirely different metabolic event. The third mistake is adding processed cheese or cured deli meats. These are high in sodium and contain additives that burden cardiovascular function without adding clinically relevant nutritional benefit. I want to tell you about Min-Joon Lee because his case reflects something I see with regularity. He is 56 years old and came to my office 8 months ago, placed his lab results on the desk without speaking, and looked at me the way someone looks when they have prepared for difficult news. His A1C was 8.7%. His fasting blood sugar averaged 182. He had been managing type 2 diabetes for 6 years and on metformin for 4 of them. Every morning he ate 2 eggs, fried in oil alongside white rice and tropical fruit juice, which he described as a balanced meal. He was not wrong that protein belonged in that breakfast. What was working against his numbers was everything surrounding the eggs, the oil, the white rice converting to glucose, and the juice delivering a sharp spike before the protein could establish any buffering effect. I suggested one focus change: boil or scramble the eggs without oil. Replace the white rice with cooked vegetables. Replace the juice with the whole fruit or water. That was the entire intervention. 3 weeks later, Min-Joon Lee returned, and his expression was different. Dr. Yoon, my morning numbers are between 148 and 158. They have not been below 175 in 6 years. I changed only what you told me about breakfast. After 4 months, his A1C dropped to 7.9%. His primary care physician asked what he had done differently. Min-Joon Lee answered with the simplicity of someone who had found something real. I changed how I prepare my eggs, doctor. That was it. Tell me in the comments what change you are making first. I read every response, and your answer helps me create content specific to your situation. 2 important points before we close. If you take metformin, eggs do not interfere with your medication in any way. You can include them with complete confidence. If you take insulin, speak with your doctor before significantly changing your breakfast composition, because higher protein intake can enhance insulin sensitivity, and your glucose may respond more than your current dosage anticipates. Your physician needs to know so they can adjust accordingly. Always keep your healthcare team informed about dietary changes when managing diabetes with medication. On egg quality, organic or pasture-raised eggs tend to contain higher concentrations of omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin D than conventional eggs. If accessible and within your budget, they are the better option. But conventional supermarket eggs deliver the full metabolic benefit I have described. Do not avoid eggs because you cannot access the organic version. The benefit of including them correctly far exceeds the difference between sources. In Japan and South Korea, diabetic patients are not instructed to fear eggs. Clinical nutritionists in those countries have incorporated whole eggs into therapeutic diabetes meal planning for decades, guided by research that preceded the Western revision of the dietary cholesterol narrative by years. The egg avoidance that spread through Western dietary medicine in the 1980s was built on data the scientific community has since substantially contradicted. The patients who removed eggs and replaced them with oatmeal, juice, and bread did not protect their cardiovascular system. They eliminated a protein source their blood sugar management depended on and replaced it with the exact macronutrient category their metabolism struggles with most. That substitution has a measurable metabolic cost. And the significant fact is that this cost is not permanent. Every patient I have described reversed it within weeks by making one targeted change to the meal they eat every single day of their life. Here is everything consolidated into what you can apply starting tomorrow morning. 2 scrambled eggs cooked without oil in a nonstick pan, or 2 boiled eggs prepared the night before, paired with half a ripe avocado and a generous portion of vegetables such as spinach, tomatoes, or mushrooms. If you need additional volume, 1 small slice of dense whole grain bread with visible seeds is acceptable, but eat it after the eggs. Beginning with protein ensures the glucose buffering is active when carbohydrates arrive. Beginning with bread spikes your blood sugar before the protein has any chance to slow it. For dinner, a 2-egg omelet with vegetables and no carbohydrate side dish works on your fasting glucose while you sleep. For mid-morning hunger, 1 boiled egg with a handful of almonds sustains you without a meaningful glucose spike. These are not complicated instructions. They are one decision made correctly, repeated daily. The financial picture deserves to be stated clearly. The average American adult managing type 2 diabetes with suboptimal breakfast choices, driving chronic glucose elevation, will spend an estimated $35,000 to $60,000 over a 20-year window in additional medication costs, specialist visits, and complication management associated with poor long-term glycemic control, according to American Diabetes Association cost projection analyses. The breakfast intervention I have described costs under $1.50 per day. Over 20 years, that totals under $11,000. The gap of $24,000 to $49,000 represents the measurable financial cost of a dietary mistake caused by outdated medical guidance, maintained by institutional inertia, and reversible with one decision made correctly at breakfast tomorrow morning. The food industry and pharmaceutical supply chain have no financial interest in making that calculation visible to you. I want you to leave this video with one thing absolutely clear. Eggs are not your enemy. They never were. What was working against you was the preparation, the foods surrounding them, and the information given by people working with the best data available at the time. When you change those variables, preparing eggs without oil, pairing them with avocado and vegetables, using them at dinner to lower fasting glucose, you are giving your body a tool with genuine clinical backing. This video is for informational purposes only. Always consult your physician before making changes to your diet or medication. Press the like button, because that action extends this video to someone whose fasting blood sugar has been stuck for years who does not yet know a food they own could change it. Subscribe to this channel. Every week I publish evidence translating East Asian clinical practice into your daily routine. Tell me in the comments how you prepare your eggs. I read every response personally. Next week, a compound used in Japanese and South Korean diabetic nutrition since the 1980s. Under $2 a month, over 30 peer-reviewed studies, measurable reductions in fasting glucose within 3 weeks, never once mentioned in Western dietary guidelines for diabetes. Dr. Jae Yoon. The science Asia has always known. See you in the next one.